Official Chicagoland weather forecast. Clouds and sunshine with a shower that may pop up this afternoon and a high of 84. Currently mostly sunny and 65. Your next news update, 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy in their chat on X yesterday. Tech mogul Elon Musk made this offer to one Donald Trump if he is to regain the White House again.
Well, I think it would be great to just have a government efficiency commission that takes a look at these things and just ensures that the taxpayer money, the taxpayers' hard-earned money, is spent in a good way. And I'd be happy to help out on such a commission.
I'd love
if it were formed.
Wow.
More government. Another government agency.
Well, also, with all due respect, first of all, these blue ribbon commissions, we've been down that road myriad times. Secondly, Elon Musk, so would government money spent efficiently include green energy subsidies? Would it include the $40 billion that's being divvied up to support chip makers? Would it include subsidizing Chinese communist-backed EV battery concerns like Goshen? What would it include in terms of budgeting at and for NASA? I mean, is Elon Musk conflicted at all on any of this stuff since he is a recipient of so much government largesse? Oh, yeah. Forgot about that. Sounds all well and good because we like Elon Musk because of what he's done for free speech on X, and he deserves a ton of credit for that. Absolutely. But, this other stuff is a little bit more complicated, it seems to me. What does it seem to John Tamny? Let's ask him. John Tamny is the editor of RealClearMarkets.com. He's also the author of The Money Confusion, How Illiteracy About Currencies and Inflation Sets the Stage for the Crypto Revolution. John, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Elon Musk, Donald Trump, I don't know, maybe some of his Silicon Valley friends, David Sachs and Peter Thiel and others get together and do a reinventing government commission. What do you think?
As you alluded, we've been down this road before. Nothing ever changes. Government can't be a business, and it can't be a business because businesses start every day worrying that the next day could be their last. That's not the case with government. It's always got an incessant flow of dollars to it, so it can never reinvent itself. What causes reinvention is a desire to keep the money flowing in. You don't have to worry about that with government. And so it's a lot of talk. What neither side will ever come to the conclusion, and it's to my utmost frustration, is neither side understands we have a problem of too much government revenue. And until we address that problem, that in fact Americans are vastly overtaxed, the rich in particular, will never solve the government waste problem.
Right. I mean, we have too much government throwing off, well, I shouldn't say throwing off, extracting too much of other people's money to continue to expand government. I mean, that's what this, that's to the extent there's a quote unquote business, and they do put that in scare quotes, that's the business, is expansion.
Yeah, it exists to expand. Spare me that somehow one party's different from the other. They've all got their pet projects. No less than Ronald Reagan saw it when he was president. He was elected to shrink the size and scope of government, but what he found is that every program has a constituency, including a Republican constituent. And this is, so when our side talks about deficits and all this, I think, gosh, you're missing the point. The problem is the too much revenue. We have debt because we have too much revenue, and we have too many programs because we have too much revenue. The money's going to be spent, so the goal has got to be to keep it from flowing there in the first place. But, supply side happy talkers tell us all the time about, well, if you cut this tax, you'll get more revenue, and that will bring down the debt. No, it won't. It will cause the debt because it will enable more borrowing. And you see it from both sides. The scolds on both sides say the same thing. Well, we've got to get more revenue in to fix this. No, the problem is too much revenue. But I've found myself very alone on this, but I will continue to make that case.
Here's some revenue the government won't get, thanks to what is now a position of unanimity. Take a listen to KJP yesterday.
President of the United States, President Biden, would he sign that? That's something he's embraced before.
Oh, absolutely. Look, this is something that the president supports. He supports eliminating taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers.
Harris,
Harris
Trump
and Biden
supports
are
it,
together,
then that triggered Harris to support it, and that triggered Biden to support it. So I think we've got it by acclamation now, John.
Well, yeah, as we discussed the last time on this, I get so mad when people do not tip in cash. I want to keep money from government every which way. I will go to ATM machines and pay the fee to make sure I have cash to tip in cash. I don't like to tip waiters and waitresses any way but that. But the notion that zeroing out that tax would somehow drive some economic boom or would have any kind of economic impact is laughable. Of course it would not. Because what drives economic growth is an investment. And the notion that suddenly zeroing out tax on servers is going to drive a surge of investment is just not serious. And it frustrates me again. We see it, the happy talkers on our side say, oh, no, it'll be great. It'll cause people to work more. Oh, please. And then, that Kamala is jumping on this. Where to begin?
Well, didn't the Biden administration hire more IRS agents to specifically focus on servers and people in the service industry?
I didn't realize that. I knew they hired more agents. I thought it was just to come after the rich, but that's a very interesting point.
Oh yeah, well, come after the rich, right? No one making less than $400,000. Well, unfortunately for them, unfortunately for us, we know this is, all of the money from which you want to extract for agencies like the IRS is, in the middle quintiles. It's not the top 2% like they pretend they're only going after.
True, but let's be real. All the rich pay all the taxes, and I always find it odd when it's said, well, they're eventually going to come after the middle. If their intent were to come after the middle, there wouldn't be all this debt in the first place. No one lends to middle earners; they lend to super rich earners, and I find that hugely problematic in a government sense. I want the rich to make massive fortunes, and then when they're done with it, invest all that. The idea that government arrogates to itself such a big share is so anti-progress. It staggers the mind to think how much we haven't accomplished because we go after the rich so heavily. And so my big problem with the IRS agents going after the rich, they pay all your taxes in the first place.
Well, right. So with the top 1% pays about 40% of all taxes, income taxes. Right, top 10% pays about 75%. Those are two data points. I'm ballparking, but that's about right. Those are two data points that almost no one in America knows.
No, they don't know, and my frustration with it is that our side is situational about it. Let's be clear that the Biden forgiving those student loans is unconstitutional, it's immoral, it's wrong in so many ways. But isn't it funny how our side all of a sudden says, oh, yeah, the working man's going to pay for those student loans? Oh, please. No, it's the rich subsidizing the rich. It's not right. But let's be real. The money comes from one set of people. The top 400 taxpayers pay exponentially more than the bottom 70% of earners. The rich pay the taxes. Until we get real with that, all these other discussions seem kind of pointless to me.
You said something about investment. That's not what I understand in terms of driving economic growth. That's not what I understand. I understand that we are beset by recession fears right now because the government largesse is all the funny money is now drying up, and we're not getting the consumption levels we need. That's what I'm told.
Well, yeah, they always say that. Look, production is consumption. As long as that's the only path to consumption, government handouts don't drive consumption; they just shift it. And so the idea that suddenly markets discovered on a Friday in what was it, August, that Americans were consuming less is so ridiculous and such a misunderstanding of what drives consumption in the first place. It's just production. And the idea that governments could just put funny money into the economy and drive all sorts of demand, well, oh, that's interesting. Why doesn't Haiti do that? Why doesn't El Salvador do it? Why doesn't Zimbabwe do it? You can only get it one way. It's production.
What is, speaking of funny money, what is your, I think we've talked about this, but I can't remember exactly what your threat level assessment was of the prospect of the dollar not being the reserve currency. This is something that in recent years has been a real bugaboo for some on the right, and I wanted to get your take on whether that is something you feel is potentially imminent, and if it is that a grave concern for America?
I think it's just a load of nonsense. This is not me defending the oversight of the dollar. I think it could be much better. In my perfect world, Treasury would oversee a dollar that's defined in terms of something real, something like gold. But I don't get my way in all ways. Despite that, let's remember the fact that the dollar liquefies global exchange. If you go to North Korea and you want to buy things, you better have dollars. If you go to Venezuela, you better have dollars. Zimbabwe, you name the country, dollar is the currency of choice. So to pretend, as some do, that the dollar is about to be replaced is a presumption that suggests, yet again, that markets are incredibly stupid, that those who actually move around goods and services don't have a clue, and they're accepting a currency that's soon to disappear. Let's be real. The dollar is the world's currency until something replaces it, and we haven't seen that so far.
Great Dr. Phil impersonation, by the way. Right, first you got to get real.
Right,
very, very good.
Hey, I want to ask you real quickly about mortgage rates. 30-year fixed, do you see it going down anymore? I mean, we've seen some movement in the past month.
Of course, it's logically going to keep going down, I think, and the reason for that is that, let's never forget, housing's low risk. That's why banks are willing to touch housing, because they know that worst case they can recover a real asset that they can sell. And so it's only logical that the cost of mortgage will go down. I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. My latest book makes a case against home ownership. To me, housing's consumption. It's not investment. But it's only natural that rates on mortgages will continue to go down to get back to where they were, because that's the safest way for banks to loan out the money entrusted to them.
For some people, that's their biggest investment. I mean, it depends on when you buy and where you live, really, don't you think?
What are you, Klaus Schwab now, John Tamny, at 15-minute cities, and we rent little tiny houses?
Yes.
And
I want
a van down by the river?
I want to see Wall Street far more involved in housing, but let's never forget, you show me a return on a house over any reasonable time frame, I'll show you a much bigger return in the stock market. And in that time, you could be renting while not focusing all your energy on a house you don't understand, that you're throwing incredibly dumb money at. When they come to me and say, oh, you need a new water heater, what am I supposed to say? I just say, oh, really? Okay. So I throw dumb money after dumb money at something I don't understand. And so in a perfect world, people would recognize this, and I think the world economy would be much better if they did. Housing's vastly overrated.
John Tamny is the editor of RealClearMarkets.com. His book, The Money Confusion, How Illiteracy About Currencies and Inflation Sets the Stage for the Crypto Revolution. John, thanks as always.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you a driver of a Ford Powerstroke diesel engine? Tired of taking your Ford Powerstroke diesel in to be misdiagnosed or paying for repairs that don't fix the problem? Well, bring your vehicle to the diesel headquarters, Remke's Garage. The shop is equipped with state-of-the-art diagnostic equipment and highly trained technicians. Take it to the experts. Take it to Remke's Garage.